Welcome to the latest Latin2Latin connection segment of the South Florida Community Roundup, where we bring you expert insights on important topics for our community. Today, I'm honored to introduce our special guest, Hernan Albamonte, a global public affairs leader with nearly 2 decades of experience navigating complex political and regulatory environments across the United States, Europe, and Latin America. Director of Local Government Affairs at Philip Morris International, known as PMI, Hernan connects the company's global transformation with local community realities, focusing on building bridges between the public and private sectors to shape policies that enable innovation and responsibility. Based in Washington, D.C., he leads engagement strategies to bring PMI's smoke-free vision to life in cities across the USA, working directly with policymakers, civic leaders, and community partners. Fluent in both English and Spanish, Hernan has lived and worked in 5 countries, giving him a unique multilingual perspective on how trust, regulation, and innovation intersect in different cultures. Welcome, Hernan, bienvenido. How you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm super happy to be here with you, Mindy.
Thank you, Hernan. So first, I'd like to know about you.
Okay.
So please tell me a little bit about yourself, your background. Then we're going to go into your fascinating world of living in 5 countries, and then we go a little bit into what you do
Sure,
for work.
sure. Happy to do so. I'm originally from Argentina. I always say that nobody's perfect, but I have been blessed by the company I represent because I have the opportunity or have had the opportunity of living in 5 different countries, traveling across Latin America, Europe, the United States. And I think that the typical Argentinian arrogancy has been toned down a little bit, except when it comes to soccer or football, as we
Of
call it.
course.
That will continue to be at least until June next year. But yeah, I mean, I'm married, happily married. I have 3 beautiful kids, and I work for PMI, and I've been doing government affairs, public affairs for a while. I have a bachelor's in political science. I have a master's degree in corporate communication, and I'm finalizing another master's in international relations. So I enjoy drawing, painting, playing guitar, listening to music. That's what I do.
Oh my God, I didn't know that part. You see that that's the beautiful thing about this radio podcast that we get to hear a little more about what people do under spare time. But what brings you, people, my audience, it's about South Florida, and people are going to ask, but what is the guy from corporate talking from Washington, D.C., and from around the world talking about things that are happening in South Florida? Specifically, you have a new project, which we're going to talk about it in a minute. But I'm curious to understand. That must be fascinating, of course, being from Argentina and having been with PMI for a long time. But you are navigating 5 different cultures, 5 in different countries that you have lived, right? And
Yeah.
what do you think it's the how do you do it? I mean, what is that? How do you deal with the complexity of the political and regulatory environment in each country, and how do you reconcile them?
Well, I think it's really about learning from each one of these places, right? So obviously, I grew up in Latin America, so I got used to the typical complexities we face in our region, and that in a way allowed me to learn how to navigate fast, moving environments, change of rules most of the time.
Yeah.
Then I went to Europe, which is obviously completely the opposite because here systems work through the institutions, they're very predictable. Most of the time, policy is driven by evidence. And then you come into the US, which it's a combination of both, if you want, because
Interesting.
obviously institutions are very strong. But at the same time, the local politics are also very important. Each city has its own story. And a bit of my work is really connecting with the communities where we're going to start commercializing our not new anymore, but smoke-free products. Yeah, my role is to try to build trust, credibility, and make sure people understand where we're coming from and what we want to do.
I'm curious, what are the countries that you have lived in besides Argentina? And now
Well, I lived in Argentina. I lived 3 years in Mexico. I lived 4 years in Costa Rica. I got married there. My first kid was born there. Then we moved to Switzerland, in Lausanne, where the global headquarters of Philip Morris International used to be. I worked there for 4 years. And then in 2019, I think 3 months before the pandemic, I moved to Washington, D.C. And now I live in Virginia.
nice, very nice. I love the combination. I had the opportunity to live in Mexico, and that was quite an experience. I loved the
Yeah.
Mexican culture, and I also, myself being from Puerto Rico, I also had the opportunity. I recently did a residency in Madrid, in Spain, which I love as well. So having that combination, I think, is important to have the perspective of USA, Latin America, and then European is just fascinating because you can see the way people think in different places, and there are things that you can steal from one place. I say still all borrow and
Yeah.
bring it to the new place that you're doing business, right?
Absolutely. And look, I think one of the things I'm most proud about, and also working for Philip Morris International in that sense, makes me very proud, is when I was kind of preparing for this podcast, I was thinking, what has been the most multicultural experience I had? And then immediately came to me that it was when I was living in Lausanne. We had like kind of a large office, and that was a shared office with several of my colleagues. One of them was from France, the other one was from Germany, another one was from South Africa. There was one from Lebanon, one from Brazil, and one from Moldova. So you can imagine, I mean, the conversations we had, how much we exchange about the different cultures. I mean, what is okay in Argentina, what is not okay in Germany. So it was really fascinating, and really opens your mind to understand different perspectives. And try to find always common grounds, right?
I think I also recommend you met Richard, who helped me on the side with the production and everything. And I always say that to when I mentor student from FSU is that have the opportunity to go abroad at least 3 months, 6 months, whatever, because you will come with a wealth of knowledge and culture that nobody can take away from you. But why don't we switch for a second, because I'm really curious about why you are in South Florida most of the time and what you're trying to do. And I want you to explain what PMI is, that is not what maybe some people think it is. And then go into the new product. I'm just excited about it.
Sure, I'm happy to share that with you and the audience. I wish I was living in South Florida, but I still have to convince my boss about it. But look, I mean, South Florida is one of the places where we have started already commercializing our products called IQOS, or the product called IQOS, IQOS, which is a product that heats tobacco instead of burning it. IQOS is part of the smoke-free products portfolio that Philip Morris Philip Morris International has. And we have been commercializing that product for the past 10 years in now more than, I think, 100 countries, if I'm not mistaken, with more than 38 million people around the world using it. Now, the beauty about this product is that for those adult smokers who don't want to quit the use of nicotine, but are looking for better alternatives, this is a great product, because ultimately what IQOS does is heats tobacco to a temperature of no combustion. And by doing that, it reduces the exposure to harmful and potentially harmful chemicals. Right. So in the end, it's a less harmful alternative, or better alternative than for those adult smokers who would otherwise continue to smoke. So we're starting to commercialize this product in Fort Lauderdale. Actually, we started, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 3 weeks ago.
That's great.
And we are also commercializing in Austin, Texas, Jackson, Mississippi, and obviously we will continue to expand across the country, because there are almost 30 million Americans who continue to smoke. So essentially, they deserve to have access to better products.
And I will say, the product has been authorized by the FDA also as well, so that for those people that are looking for options, right? This is a product that provides a different experience in a way. Tell me a little bit about that, if you can.
Sure. Look, I mean, the first thing I would like to say is that these products are not risk-free, right? I mean, they carry risk. These products contain nicotine. Nicotine is addictive. But again, as I mentioned before, these products are much better options than continuing to smoke. And as you pointed out, this is one of the very few products on the US market that has what it's called an FDA MRTPA, that stands for Modified Risk Tobacco Products Authorization. And what actually that means is that the FDA has reviewed over 3 million pages of scientific research about this product, we participated in many hearings before the FDA, and they issued this authorization by which they allow us to say that if you switch completely to these products, you reduce your exposure to harmful and potentially harmful chemicals. So it is a very important thing for us, and also a recognition of the effort that we are putting in terms of the innovation, but also most importantly, the scientific research around these products.
I think that's good, really critical. I started my career in the beer business many, many moons ago, and everybody, has a choice in life in terms of the lifestyle and everything. And the thing here for me is to present your company, and as well as any other company, in a way that is responsible, that has evidence, research that supports the utilization of that particular product. So I'm not endorsing necessarily, but I'm excited about it because I understand that it's a choice that people may want to do. And I think I also like the fact that the way that you guys have penetrated for Lauderdale, you kind of bypassed Miami, so that's interesting. But why for Lauderdale? And I know that you're working. My last month guest was Diva Name from La Mexicana, so I want to know what is she doing differently, and why did you pick her to be one of the ambassadors?
Well, I mean, the most important aspect when it comes to the commercialization of IQOS is really about connecting with the community, right? So it's not about this global company that comes to the United States and tries to sell this product, but it's really connecting with the adult smoker and where these adult smokers are. We come to them, we try to embed with the community. And I think that Diva, in a way, she represents the fabric or the social fabric of Fort Lauderdale. So
You're
when
absolutely
she
right. Mhm.
when she allows us to be there at La Mexicana, or allows us to engage with the consumers there and the adult smokers, then she's allowing us to be part of the community, and that connection really matters because people listen to voices they trust, and that's why it's so important, essentially.
I think you're doing such an amazing job. Also, really, weaving yourself in the community, in the fabric of the community. You represent. You go to all the key events. You have made the relationship marketing that you're doing is key. But what I notice is that is you walk the talk. I mean, you have an excellent team of people, very personable. They Chad, George, and then now the other ambassadors are amazing. So thank you for really, I mean, coming from corporate responsibility when I used to work with Anheuser-Busch, I totally get what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's part of what I do with my clients or work as what I do with Latin2Latin marketing. In terms of that connectivity has to be authentic. It has to be, real in order for people to really take you serious and take you to the next level. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate that you're hopefully working with other organizations like the one that I belong to. I'm on the board with Winterfest at one point. That's one of the landmarks of for Lauderdale. I want to talk now a little bit more about career oriented. So if somebody's listening, and another person, a young person or someone that is in the middle of their career and they wanted to pursue, because it's fascinating what you're doing. I mean, you are definitely in a particular category that is innovative, but at the same time, you have that world perspective. And in your case, you have to look at it has to. You're in a fine line perspective because you're going to be dealing with policy, sometimes with legislators. So tell me a little bit about that, how you balance that out. And then secondly, let's talk about, what would you recommend to someone that wants to pursue that type of career pathway?
Sure. Look, I think that, I mean, it's really about the combination of my learnings, if you want, right? So obviously, coming from Latin America, everything is about the people. It's about the relationships. My experience in Europe, it was more about the rules, the institution. In the US, maybe it's a bit different because it's a combination of both, but at the same time, you have innovation that, for example, moves faster than regulation. But ultimately, which also comes from what we were discussing before, from our commercial approach, it is really about building relationships, connecting with people, and trying also to understand what are the common grounds, right? So I don't come into a meeting trying to convince someone. I'm trying to find what are the common grounds that we have, and see how can we make them work for both of us, right? So in the end, it's really about understanding what are the needs in this case of a local community, which usually are about public health, which are about responsible innovation or responsible commercialization. It's about economic growth, and try to see how, from a corporate standpoint, we can match some of those things, to build, I mean, a common ground of understanding.
That it's interesting. I remember when I was living in Mexico that I have to. I was very careful not to come as an Americana, into Mexico and trying to tell them what to do rather than, work and listen to how they've been doing things and learn from them. Have they been doing business? And to be honest with you, it was a very humbling experience with me. And I think I want to use the word humbleness because you guys are very humble. When you go to events and you present, you are coming with really a sense of strength, but at the same time, you are sharing that you want to engage and you want to learn from the local people. Tell me about that a little bit. Is that by design or is that something
Well,
that
I
you
mean,
think?
look, I think that we have an extremely talented senior vice president of corporate communication or corporate development. We have a talented CEO, which are guiding us that way, right? So it's really about, we call it being invested in America, and being invested in the communities where we operate, right? So we want to learn from those communities. We want to listen from those communities, and then we want to give back to those communities. And it's really not a slogan. It's really about building something together, and I think we are being quite successful from that perspective, right? So you were pointing out about our participation in different events that are organized by the local community in Fort Lauderdale, primarily the business community, which is basically that's my role, if you want. You have on the other side my great colleagues Chad and George, which I mean are doing a phenomenal job when it comes to the commercialization and connecting. But then we have also our philanthropic giving, right? So we focus a lot on veterans. We focus a lot on economic development. We focus a lot on disaster relief and also any other hyper local need that the community may have. So if you combine all those things, ultimately gives you, I mean, a real commitment to the communities where you are operating.
That's great. We're running out of time. We have to wrap things up, Hernan, but I know that some people might be interested in reaching out, learning more about ECOS and ICOS rather, and learning more about what you're doing. Maybe they can stop by at Divas at the La Mexicana and
Yes.
check out the product. I plan to do that actually this coming week. And I want to thank you again for your time and a wonderful congratulations on the amazing work
Thank
that you're doing. I'm very proud as a Latina to see you around town and seeing you doing what you guys are doing. It's really fascinating, and I look forward to continue building a relationship with you. To my audience, I want to thank them for listening. And again, Latin to Latin Connection is here to bring a voice to Latino entrepreneurs, business people, and civic leaders to share insights about the vibrant and growing Latino community in South Florida. For those interested in reaching out, please contact us at info@l2lmarketing.com or visit our website, l2lmarketing.com. Let us know what topics you're interested in. South Florida Community Roundup, Latin to Latin Connection. It's aired every Saturday, third Saturday of each month at 7 a.m. Next month, I'm looking forward to having my dear friend and client partner, Felipe Pinzon, is CEO of and President of Hispanic Unity of Florida. Stay tuned y hasta la próxima.